Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. A very warm welcome to this Uniting Business Africa session on the Sdg Ambition case studies on progress. The panelists today, whom I will introduce in a moment, are all from companies that have participated and completed the inaugural round of the Sdg Ambition Accelerator Program. I am Nicole Solomons, the Program Manager at the Global Compact Network South Africa, and the moderator for this session. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the Sdg Ambition Program. The Sdg Ambition Accelerator Program is a UN Global Compact Global Impact Initiative that both challenges and supports companies to be more strategic and transformative in how they run their businesses to deliver on Agenda 2030. Through the accelerator, companies learn to set bolder goals that are aligned with their purpose, governance, and strategy. The program is designed to support participants to address barriers to speed and scale that are common in sustainability journeys. This is done through a series of workshops and on-demand courses which are hosted on the UN Global Compact Academy platform. Through the program, 10 Sdg Ambition Benchmarks are utilized. These have been developed from the SDGs, articulated for business, and designed to be applicable across industries and company sizes. By choosing one of these benchmarks to focus on during the program, participants are able to identify an area within their organization where they can raise ambition and become an industry leader in achieving the SDGs. The SDG benchmarks range from gender balance at all levels of management to net positive water impact in water-stressed basins, and of course, science-based emissions reduction in line with a 1.5-degree pathway and other. This year, the virtual program was facilitated by sustainability and tech experts from the Accenture Innovation Hubs. And as the South Africa local network, we hosted companies from across the region and were able to see participant solutions come to life as the program ended. So today's discussion is focused on the Sdg Ambition journey and how these companies are now. And with that, I'd like to introduce our speakers. So Mr. Robert O'Kane, as the CEO of Better World Systems, also known as BUSYS, Ms. Josephine Peters, Senior Manager of Social Impact at De Beer South Africa, and Mr. Mohamed Salah, Quality and Energy Manager at Sdg. So I'd like to start with asking all of our speakers if you could maybe just introduce yourself, your organization, and then tell us a little bit about why your company decided to actually take this journey of joining the Sdg Ambition program. Maybe we could start with you, Mr. O'Kane. Robert.
Thank you very much, Nicole, for the platform, and greetings to all the participants joining us here. So my name is Robert O'Kane. I'm the CEO of BUSYS. We work with inspired people to deliver life-changing digital solutions that enrich lives and transform organizations. Over the years, I've led projects in 63 developing countries in Africa, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and Pacific regions, all focusing on digitalization to achieve sustainable development. In 2021, I was named the United Nations Global Compact SDG Pioneer for Digital Innovation and Inclusion to recognize my commitment to showcasing how business can be a force for good and take action on sustainable development issues. Yeah, so now to why my company participated in the Sdg Ambitious Accelerator Program. Internally, we have KPIs to track progress in embedding the SDGs in our business. One of the metrics we have is to participate in training programs on how to incorporate the SDGs in business. So this year, our target was to participate in the Sdg Accelerator Program and to participate in the Target Gender Equality Program to guide us in developing our sustainability strategy informed by best practices and ambitious benchmarks. We realized the approach of the program, that is the learning webinars, the guided practical workshops with supporting resources and experience sharing and collaboration with other businesses and thought leaders who would empower our employees to take action for sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. If we can move over to you, Josephine.
Thank you, Nicole. And as you rightfully said, I'm Josephine Peters. So I'm the Senior Manager for Social Impact at the Beers Group in South Africa, and obviously part of the bigger Anglo-American group in South Africa. So I'd like to first of all start off with the fact that we are proud of our deep roots in South Africa. We are driven by our purpose to reimagine mining to improve people's lives. So we adopted a very holistic approach to really support some of the South African sustainability challenges, issues such as education, health and welfare, community development, unemployment, social cohesion, and responsible use of natural resources. So one of the things that we recognized from the very onset was the fact that we had already started making significant contributions when it came to the SDGs. And we're very much well positioned to play a greater role in South Africa's achievement of the SDGs. So the SDGs really informed the development of our sustainable mining plan that we launched in 2018 and known as the Building Forever and the De Beers setup. And we were really looking at really setting up our vision for 2030. So whilst we looked at the program and the benefits of the accelerated program, we really focused on really moving towards 2030, really utilizing the solid foundations that have been built when it comes to the SDGs contribution, and really ensuring that we've got that foundation in place and really capitalizing on that journey that we had already embarked upon. Our participation in the Sdg Ambition Accelerator program was really the opportunity for us to learn from other organizations, but most importantly, how do we share our learnings of our own journey? What does it mean when we talk about sustainability? What does it mean when we talk about our social community progress, and really bringing all other stakeholders on board on the journey? This program really provided us with the opportunity to really challenge our thinking beyond what we know as an organization, and really further inculcate our understanding around when we talk about the call to action. Why the call to action? The fact that we really wanted to really unpack how we can leverage on working with partners from the SDG journey. And one of the things that we put in place some 2 years back is our accountability dialogues, where we engage with various stakeholders and how we as an organization can improve on our journey around the SDGs, and really try to get those key inputs and insights from what stakeholders are saying, both internally and externally, when it came to our SDG journey. And one of the things that really was a highlight for us on the program itself was the fact that it really stimulated the out-of-the-box thinking and really further generated the potential ideas and opportunities that would exist currently, given our journey, but also the opportunity for us to investigate further and really drive the sustainability agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Mohamed. You're on mute.
Thank you, Nicole. My name is Mohamed Salah. I'm working as a quality general manager in Sdg Petrochemical Company. It's called also known as Sdg. This is the first ethylene and polyethylene producer in Egypt. We are working since our startup was 2000. On year 2000. Let's say that our journey with sustainability started in 2014 when we have publishing the sustainability report on the UN Global Compact website. And we renew the report and update the report yearly. We try to demonstrate our commitment to almost all the 17 SDGs. we also have a long partnership with UNIDO especially in their projects in energy efficiency projects in Egypt. And also since the first day of the company, we are playing effective roles in the social responsibility in all the neighboring areas and surrounding areas, and also in all the governorate and the country as a whole. We found that the participation in Sdg Ambition a good opportunity to focus more on the actions regarding the SDGs to promote our working in this area. And we found that there is a good learning journey with enthusiasm and a lot of knowledge. We didn't expect really to learn about the benchmarks of the SDGs in such a way, and we really enjoyed our experience with Sdg Ambition, and we have a real tangible output of this we can also speak about. Okay, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm so pleased to hear that the program really delivered on tangible actions for business. But if I can turn to you again, Robert, in terms of where the company was when you started the program, what was the specific benchmark that was actually chosen, and why did you decide to go down that route?
Yeah, so at the start of the program, one of the benchmarks we focused on was SDG 8, that is decent work and economic growth, because of its relevance to our industry and the prevailing economic issues in the countries that we do business. We also realized that UN statistics on SDG 1 shows that Sub-Saharan Africa is expected to see the largest increase in extreme poverty, with an additional 26 million people living below the international poverty line due to the COVID pandemic. So the COVID alone is adding 26 million people going below the poverty line. So this doesn't look desirable. So the potential threat to the young workers is even higher, where young workers are twice as likely to live in extreme poverty relative to older workers. So under the 10 principles of the UNGC, this can be considered as a labor issue. So for us, it was critical to determine how we can improve the lives of our employees who have been affected by the pandemic, including the economic status, because the mean age of our employees is 29 years. And most of them have an average of 3 dependents, meaning even though we have 100% of employees beyond the living wage before the program, we felt there was still room to be more ambitious on the economic and welfare benefit programs and salary available. So these are some of the initiatives that we took. One, we look at overhauling our HR compensation system with the help of an external consultant to enable us to transition from static wage reviews to periodical dynamic wage setters for the entire workforce. 2, we updated our performance-based compensation process to include quarterly bonuses based on transparent and identified performance appraisal process. And thirdly, we undertook one-on-one sensitization and training with our employees on the updated HR compensation system, implications on their new wages, and recommendation on how to undertake responsible personal financial planning and management. What was the feedback? The feedback from our employees has been phenomenal. In our quarterly anonymous employee satisfaction survey, we do that every quarter. The last quarter that we 26% of our employees indicating that considering their experience based on salary and compensation, they are willing to recommend their friends and family to work with us. We always want to position ourselves as a company people wish to work for. It's one ambitious goal that we've said that by the year 2025, there should be a company people wish to work for. So it was really good as compared to the result that we had for the second quarter, which was still good. It was 78 as compared to the 96 that we got in the third quarter. We are hoping it will get better. Hopefully maybe score 100% by the end of the year. Yeah, so this is what we've done so far and the reasons why we did so. Thank you.
Wow, that's really excellent. I'm sure your employees must be very pleased with that. Josephine, if I can ask you, in terms of being on the SDG Ambition program, the methodology, the process, it was quite a lot of work. Did you find it easy? Did you find it challenging? And how did you actually take that back into the business?
Thanks, Nicole. It just feels that there's a very loaded question. But I guess, when you think about the program methodology, it was very structured, it was very focused. But at the same time, it really allowed you time to reflect and engage on those amazing insights that came from different role players. And one of the things when we talk about raising the ambition and looking at priorities, looking at goals, looking at aligning with the Sdg Ambition Benchmarks, it was really so interesting, the different perspectives that were highlighted at the different stages of what each of the different organizations were at from an SDG journey perspective. So the process of really building on each of the different layers, and I can give an analogy of when you build a house. Do you build a house from the top down or do you lay the foundations? And it was very clear from the program that you need to lay the foundation. It has to be structured. It has to really flow from the sense that whilst you are focusing on the theory around why the SDGs and why we are called as organizations to do the right things and why we're also called to work with other organizations and other communities in this journey, what does it mean from a process perspective to really take the on-demand activities as an example that really allow you to have that good prior preparation to really stimulate those discussions that allow you to build onto the house. So that is not just a structure that you've created because you are running with the process of generating an interest around the SDGs and around the program itself. So was it easy? Was it challenging? I think it was a bit of both from my perspective, because a lot of times I found myself reflecting on what has been said, how it has been said, and how it's actually been applied practically in other organizations. So whilst we came from a journey of, we have been on this journey for a while as Anglo-American, De Beers, and so forth, we actually needed to step back and say, wow, I actually did not know such insights actually resided within the SDG pot. And we really looked forward to having the facilitated sessions that really provided us with that very key lever to really push you to the next level of thinking around the SDGs and the impact that it has. So the methodology, absolutely the way to go. It stimulated thinking, it stimulated a different way to really generate those useful and impactful insights that really drove the right conversations at the right levels. And I think one thing that was very key was the inputs that came from the different organizations in their SDG journey really demonstrated that it is collaboration, it is the call for action that is actually indeed the basis of what we're doing, what we are actually linking up from an SDG perspective. Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, and I think that definitely talks to the point or the question that I have for Mohamed in terms of buy-in. So, there's these great insights, what needs to be done, you need to take it back to the business. But how do you then get the business to buy in? You know, did they buy into the benchmark? Were there any barriers that you faced in terms of this really complex work that you had to take back to the business? You can unmute, Mohamed.
Okay. Buy-in is a very important issue regarding the SDGs, how we can introduce this as a business case in somehow to give the attraction from the decision makers. But let me say that we are in the best situation ever in my company. Our CEO, Engineer Mohamed Ibrahim, demonstrates very high level of commitment, and I can call him a sustainability advocate actually. So this lead our efforts rapidly, and I start with my colleagues who are participating in the team to classify the benchmarks in maybe in 4 categories. We have the first categories already achieved. We have some benchmarks already achieved in the company, and we introduce it like that. We are achieving 100% of our employees across the organization earn a living wage, and also 0 incidents of bribery, for example. This encourages that we have some. So what else? We have a second category achieved legally by the law, like some which is related to environment, for example. And we have also the third category that is difficult, related to the environment, the business environment, and the industry, the nature of the industry, like gender balance. We do a lot of it, but we are working in petrochemical industry. This is gender balance according to the benchmark is somehow difficult, but we are working on it. And the fourth one, the challenging, and which has a real value to business, which is according to our situation was the science-based target. It's really matched with our previous efforts in the energy efficiency, and we are starting to focus on this. And it was the first time to hear about the SBTI, and last week we signed the commitment letter. And by the way, the team of the SBTI is led by a lady, and Engineer Dina has leading this team. So this was our choice to working in this concern, and also during the last months we make another action that has some good sounds. We are providing some internship to students in the energy and renewable energy in national university, who are supported by USAID scholar activity, and we gave them an assignment for how to study the preparedness of our company to participate in the SBTI. So we spread the word, spread the focus on the climate action, and by this we are serving the SDG 4 of the education and the partnership and the climate action and the clean energy and so on. So we are focusing on a real tangible actions, and this is how we introduce our achievements to gain more support and to buy in the all the company stakeholders somehow. Yes, this.
That is fantastic. Congratulations on setting the science-based targets. Well done on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Robert, if I can ask you a little bit about leadership. Leadership is so important when it comes to progressing the SDGs. We've just heard of the fantastic leadership that they have in SIDPEC. And so one way to do so is, of course, ensuring accountability, ensuring transparency. I think you did actually mention transparency a little bit earlier. Talk to us a little bit more about how you will be, progressing the goals and ensuring outcomes based on accountability and transparency.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll be building upon the points Mohamed made on leadership. Yeah, so leadership is everything. And for us, leadership is critical when progressing this very complex and integrated work and embedding SDG into the core business. When we understand that doing business sustainably is essential to our bottom line, we can be more collaborative, 1, 2, intentional, and 3, committed to holding ourselves accountable. So at BUSIS, we have found that taking this approach eases some of the complexity that SDG and even doing business comes with. So we took 4 initiatives when we are looking at accountability and transparency. 1, we periodically leverage self-assessment tools like the SDG Action Manager, the B-Lab, B-Impact Assessment, the Gender Equality Gap Analysis as a compass in our corporate planning. We recognize the actions in these tools as best practices that we should either have in place or set goals to have in place. We use these tools twice a year to assess our current state, identify gaps, and then leverage the unchecked boxes in our goal setting. The goals we set are then tied to our managers' KPIs, who have to lead their teams to take initiative to attain those goals. Secondly, we engage with thought leaders in programs. So at BUSIS, we consider our commitment to sign on to organizations like the UNGC. We've also signed up to the Women's Empowerment Principles as a way to strengthen accountability, transparency. Our internal SDG thought leaders participate in all training programs hosted by these organizations to gain knowledge and return to the team to educate and influence action. For us, any feedback from our employees who participate in programs is treated with priority. They are assigned to partner with any senior manager whose role or job description is tied to the expected impact to take action. The outcome of those actions is also used in assessing, again, the manager's performance in meeting their KPIs. The SDGs, in essence, becomes embedded in the core business at every level. We've got to a point where every employee, we ask you, what does SDG, what does sustainability means to you? I always say, we all have sustainability in this. If you are thinking about career progression, it's about sustainability. If you are thinking about what to eat tomorrow, it's about sustainability because you want to be alive. So we try to break it down for everyone to understand. Thirdly, it's about communication. So one part of being accountable is communicating. So documentation, communication are essential for accountability and transparency. We ensure that our goals and actions being taken are well documented and reported at the management level. When applicable, we communicate to our employees. Additionally, we also report on progress and goals to our board of directors who support how to achieve our goals and even set ambitious targets. In our communication on progress report to UNGC, we also share our goals for upcoming reporting period to hold us accountable again to those actions, because it is public knowledge. You've put an information over there. You've set goals that I will be able to do this. I intend to do this by next year. We need to go back and work towards it. Finally, adopting and developing impact measurement and management tools. So from experience, we realized the complexity around it. And for us, it's becoming a new opportunity for us, being in sustainable development space. So while delivering services to our customers, we realize that impact investment, measurement, and management is a significant challenge that hinders the capacity of firms to embed the SDGs or report progress transparently. So what we are doing currently, we are investing into a digital tool. We are using our core competency to engineer a solution that could help these businesses to be able to measure their impact in terms of investment, because the question always comes in Africa, it is business as usual. What am I supposed to worry my head about climate change? Why should I worry my head about so many other things? So I want to break it down using tools like that could let them see the impact in terms of their investment to their businesses. We are hoping to launch it hopefully by the first quarter of next year. So these are some of the things that we've done around accountability and transparency. Thank you.
That is just excellent. Thank you so much. It's just great to hear the progress that is being made. Josephine, a little bit more on the program itself. When you think of the accelerator and the process, you spoke a little bit about the methodology earlier, in terms of working towards setting, more ambitious targets in different SDG impact areas. Where else could this type of process work? You've been on the program. Could you use that process in another SDG area or another area within the business, for example?
Thanks, Nicole. And, it's amazing what Robert was speaking about leadership, because already leadership plus the process around the program itself, just really, really comes together, because that's what it's all about as well. But I mean, if you think about the accelerator process, it really challenged the thinking. Whilst you had a certain way of thinking as an organization, it challenged that thinking beyond what you already know to beyond what you actually need to be aware of. Ways of work, it pushed one to even greater understanding around the SDGs, most definitely. But then also the fact that we all had targets that we have set as organizations from an SDG perspective. But the question was, are those targets realistic? Are those targets smart? Have we really put in the necessary thinking around how those specific targets from an SDG perspective have an impact from the areas where we operate? Now, recreating the program, definitely, I truly believe it's a must do. And I really would encourage other organizations to really get involved, because it doesn't really matter where you are on the journey. The program sets you apart. It challenges the norm. It generates the concepts that you knew currently from the SDG perspective and really makes them practical in terms of how you can actually lay them out from a foundational perspective, and also how you can actually get the necessary stakeholders to also understand where you also coming from. The critical thinking, definitely, that was one of the key challenges that was really coming through on the program, and which really ensured that, whilst you have your critical thinking, you need to also put on your different caps around thinking out of the box, and really ensuring that the ideas or the insights or the opportunities that you generated within the program itself do not just land whilst you are having the conversations through the sessions in the program, but they go well beyond, what is required. The call of action for business and all other role players, in society, it's very real. It was evident through the program. It's not something that we're talking about. It's something that we're seeing, and something that we are also experiencing, and really keeping up that momentum. So what was fantastic also, working with other partners in the conversations we had around the SDGs and how you can build on what you have, and finding the solutions with other partners was quite an area that, it was zoned into at every level of the program. And that for me was about, okay, if you had to question what else and how else it could work, it really depends on one, which context are you within as an organization? Where are you placed from an SDG journey perspective? What context really defines where you want to get to beyond 2030? And what really defines the collaboration and the partnerships and who you're actually going to take on that journey? And I think the one last thing that I really want to note in terms of the process itself was around the balanced approach to really having the understanding that gone are the days where we talk and we keep talking about solution or ideas, now really getting to the practicality. So we basically walked away thinking, all right, so whilst we've been on the journey, we need to then step back and understand there is so much more to be done. There is so much more that you need to really focus on and really continue with that collaboration, because that's what it's all about. How do you collaborate with others, to find the solutions and to really ensure that, we make an impact in the areas where we operate. And the program really stimulated that and really drove it really hard, that it's not business as usual, and we really need to, get going with what needs to be done with others in mind as part of the solution.
Thank you so much, Josephine. And actually, we've sort of come to some of the last question. Mohamed, if we look forward, in terms of the benchmarks and the goals that you've set throughout the program, what is the company aspirations, for 2030? Where do you see this going? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah. We are believing that there is everything happens for a reason and nothing by chance. If we go back a little bit, Sdg is working in energy efficiency improvement since 2014, when the NMS has been established, synchronized with the publishing of the first sustainability report. And when we had the decision to invite a consultancy providing for promoting our work in energy efficiency, that was synchronized with the Sdg Ambition Accelerator Program. This is a very interesting issue, and so we find it easy to choose the SBTi benchmark. Now we have the opportunity to reduce our energy consumption by around 27% according to the roadmap delivered by KPC, which is the consultancy provider. Knowing that the identified opportunities in the delivered roadmap are classified in quick wins and medium investment and large investment opportunities with really reasonable payback periods, which will positively influence the economic and financial position of the company, in addition to the reduction of the greenhouse gases emissions, of course. We are expecting that we could achieve this in the next 5 years, which will encourage us to find and implement other new opportunities in that will increase the energy savings, will decrease the production cost, serving our strategic goal as we have an effective economic production. This is one of our strategic goals. So this will serve this. And we have now in place solar cells, for example, that provide a little proportion of electricity, and we are planning to increase the capacity of solar cells gradually to reach about maybe 10% of our consumption by 2030, which is a huge proportion in petrochemical industry, for example, depending on the expected technology advancement of solar cells, I feel. There is another area that could help us in using renewable energy, which is related to solar heating for industrial process called CHIP. And we are planning to have this technology in our plant before 2030. We also have some projects under study regarding using the recycled plastic and also producing some polymers which is driven from renewable resources like corn trash and so on. As we are a polymer producer, we are producing the raw material of plastic, and we know the danger of plastic, so we are working and tackling all these areas. We hope that we can have a robust plan for new projects by the end of 2022, inshallah, to have them running before 2026 or 2027. I hope so. And as I started, nothing happened by chance. All our effort regarding energy efficiency and clean energy and renewable resources are synchronized with the good potential associated with hosting the UN COP27 in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh, the beautiful city on the Red Sea, next year, next November in 2022. So we have really aspired, and we have the potential, and we will do a lot of better things for all the human being, let's say, not the Egyptian, not the African, but all the human being. And we this is what I want to say, and really I send all my appreciation to you, Nicole, because you managed the program in the Africa Hub in a very amazing way. Thank you for you and your team very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your participation in the program, as companies, as people. Thank you for the commitment to the SDGs and Agenda 2030. And thank you for taking the time to talk to us about it today. And we look forward to seeing you on many of our other programs as well. So thank you so much, and all the best in terms of the progress for the SDGs forward. Thank you.
Thank you.